Digital currencies are changing the world, and in this interview, you get a chance to learn about Dash, a digital cash and currency that can help you, as I talk with the very insightful, knowledgeable, and wonderful person, Amanda B. Johnson. Digital currencies are taking the world by storm. We're seeing a lot being used with many different applications. There's a lot of them out there. Of course, we know about Bitcoin, but Bitcoin is not the only one there. It's good. We like it, but there's some others available. And matter of fact, today, I've invited Amanda B. Johnson, who is the host of Dash Detailed, to join us. Amanda, thanks for being with us.
Thanks for the invitation, Terry.
Well, there's a lot going on with different kinds of cryptocurrencies. For someone who doesn't know about them and hasn't heard that, tell us a little bit about what it is. What is a digital currency, Bitcoin, Dash, and these other things? What good are they to people who are entrepreneurs and business people?
Sure. Well, I think when looking at these sort of digital currencies in general, the first question that I would ask if I weren't already involved is, why should I care at all? Why might they not just be a fad? I think that's a very legitimate question because, in my opinion, no digital currency has yet proved day-to-day usefulness outside of a few particular circles of people. Those circles would be primarily the very tech savvy, the people who first learned about the first digital currency, which was Bitcoin. Another circle would be the sort of speculators who aren't necessarily jonesing to be able to buy a cup of coffee with this sort of stuff they're trading. They just want to make a quick buck, and I do mean buck because probably they're selling most of any of the profits they're making in trading digital currencies. They're probably selling them back into paper money because at this time, as we all know, that is far more useful. And then maybe another bubble would be a sort of, there are a few venture capital firms out there who kind of think, this stuff might be the future, and so let's go ahead and get some horses in the race. So outside of those three circles, I think it's quite reasonable that someone would say, why should I care about any of this? And I do think, and I have said publicly, that if none of these digital currencies becomes as easy to use as a PayPal or as a Venmo or whatever, I do think that this will all have been a sort of speculative bubble. And I think it will die. And I think, it'll go down in the history books as something akin to tulip mania. And so the reason I care about Dash in particular, the reason I work for Dash is because two primary reasons. One, we're moving in the direction of feeling like PayPal. For anybody who's ever used digital currency as it currently operates, it bears the visuals of a form of math called cryptography. You have these sort of long, horrible addresses.
I like the way you say that, long, horrible addresses. I think that is appropriate. Yeah. It's scary in a way.
It is. Even I'm scared because, for example, if you mismanage what's called your private keys, another form of cryptography, if you mismanage your private keys, you can lose all of your funds, and
you are in real trouble. I think there's a certain creek that people go up when they're without a paddle.
Yeah,
and that's where they end up on that.
And they're completely irrevocable because you are your own bank. There isn't a backup of your private keys elsewhere. You are your own bank, and so the first reason I am very bullish on Dash is because we're going in that direction. But the second reason is because we did all of the unattractive, unglamorous stuff first that is required to get to the first reason. You may have heard, if you follow the digital currency space at all, you may have heard that various of our competitors are in the midst of sort of what might be called governance crises. in
Yes,
that,
that's a nice way to put it.
and a governance crisis comes about when there is not a clear understanding of who gets to make decisions, how, and when. And what's more, what is the process that those particular people get to make decisions under? What is the process that they execute? And so the ugly stuff that Dash knocked out about 2 years ago was implementing an investor-based voting governance model that allocates a portion of Dash that we call our treasury out to where voters say it goes. And if you've ever heard the saying, he who controls the purse strings makes the rules,
Oh, yeah.
Right? So
It's the old golden rule. The one who has the gold makes the rules.
Makes the rules, exactly. And so we've perfectly aligned governance with funding, right? We don't pretend, keep the money out of governance. Maybe money is governance. Maybe, like you said, it's the golden rule. And so with this sort of governance in place and the ability to allocate funds based on where the people who have the most to gain and the most to lose think that it should go, we're able to make decisions quickly. We're able to roll out product decisions quickly and resolve disputes quickly. And so I think that that's going to allow us to, I don't know if it'll be a year, 2 years, 5 years. I'm quite confident that we will meet and surpass Bitcoin.
Yeah, it seems that it's moving in that direction, doing very well. We've seen it's very volatile. It's up and down. I like somebody says, well, are you going to lose money if you have Bitcoin or if you have Dash or Litecoin or whatever it is? And the answer is yes, you will lose money and you will also gain money. It'll go
Depends on the day.
It's part of the fun of it. It's going back and forth there. But I understand you said some things. We were at a meeting recently together, and I really appreciated this. You were saying that Dash is working on many different developments. One of those that got my attention was the idea of having recurring payments, which I understand very difficult, if not impossible, with most of the other currencies. But Dash is already working on that. What's this? Tell me exactly what that is, and when we can expect something like that, or are we anticipating it?
Sure. Yeah, so we recognize that something that's very common in the current, economy, and something that people absolutely expect from the banking system is the ability to make subscription-based payments or recurring payments. Whether it's monthly for Netflix or annually for something like Zoom here that we're using to speak. It's a very expected common service. And we don't think that digital currency stands much of a chance of being used as a everyday medium of exchange if people can't even do something as simple as sign up to pay their Netflix bill with it. And so one of the features that we are planning to bring in what we're calling our evolution, Dash evolution, is, as you said, subscription-based payments. And the reason that not everyone in the space is working on these right now, and granted, they may well be once we release them, because this is open source code, right? As soon as we release any of these developments, people can copy and paste them that day. And so it's very interesting in the world of open source, because it's not so much about keeping secrets and patenting things or copywriting things. What it's about is being first to market. And so we are planning it to come to market with evolution with a public release at the end of this year. Now, because it has several features planned, I don't know if subscription payments will be among the first features that are included in the first release. It may have to come down the line, but it will come down the line.
Excellent. Another thing I really like about Dash, I've heard from many others, and I know you could help us on this, is the idea of what Dash provides in the form of privacy. We don't want the world knowing. It's like it's a human nature that if we want to buy something, and I don't want everyone knowing that, it might be that a mother of children who's getting battered by her husband or so doesn't want anyone to know that she bought this. She'll use cash or whatever. Dash, I know, has some layers for privacy and security. Tell us a little bit about that. And how do we access that?
Sure. So at this time, our privacy offering is available through one wallet. It's the Dash Core wallet. And for anybody who's used any of what's called like the Core or QT wallets of any of these digital currencies, you'll know that they're not very attractive yet. They don't look like PayPal yet. but we're getting there. But it's certainly usable, and it certainly works. I myself used it just this morning. So you can find the Dash Core wallet at dash.org/download. And then because it downloads the full copy of the ledger, it may take 2 to 3 hours to fully download, but it won't slow down your computer. I have like a 7 or 8-year-old laptop. I can run the wallet just fine. And basically the way that it works is once you get Dash in your wallet, your Dash Core wallet, you'll see a button and it says private send mix. And so at this point, you choose how much of your Dash, if you're me, it's all of it, you would like to mix. And then over the next, depending on how much Dash you want to mix, it could be the next 10 minutes, the next hour, the next 5 hours, it subdivides your Dash into smaller denominations of 1 or 0.1 or 0.01. And it talks to everyone else on Dash's network, all other users on the network, to see who among them also has those same denominations that they would like to be private. And then it basically begins swapping these denominations so that anyone who was looking at the Dash blockchain to try to determine where Terry's funds go, after the address that is, known to you, say I send you send me an invoice, I pay you. At this point, I know one of your Dash addresses, right? Mm-hmm. So on the ledger, the way we make sure that I don't actually know where your money goes anymore after just this one address that I paid the invoice at, on the ledger, you'll see that the Dash in that address went to at least 3 other addresses. And I don't know which one of them is yours. And then after that, each of those 3 addresses went to at least 3 other addresses, and on and on and on until you get, I don't know if the right word is exponential, but basically an exponentially increasing number of possible addresses to the point that your funds could now be residing in any of thousands of addresses. It's practically impossible for me to trace where your money went on the ledger. And so that's how it works.
That is very nice. I think it's a real distinct advantage that we see with Dash. And I think each currency probably has certain advantages and disadvantages, but Dash is looking good because you've had the benefit of seeing what's happened before. And so by being a late starter, you say, oh, they did this right. They did this right. We'll bring that. Oh, that one they could have done differently. Let's change that. And you have the system in place to make those changes. I think that's also a nice thing going forward into the future. You've already anticipated there's going to be changes. And when those changes come about, you've got the system, the infrastructure, the people to make it happen. And so one of the things I wanted to ask you about is how difficult is it if someone says, okay, I've got a lot of Bitcoin. I want to convert that over to Dash, or at least maybe take a portion of it. Good idea for diversification, hedging, things like that. First of all, is it possible? I think the answer is yes. And how difficult is it to do that?
Switching from one digital currency to another is just about the easiest thing that you can do, actually, because everybody's their own bank, right? And so, I mean, if you're looking for fast and easy, my go-to would be shapeshift.io.
Right.
Yeah. But there's any other, the reason I say that is because shapeshift.io, you don't have to create an account. You don't have to create a username and password and log in and put in a buy order and because that's how a lot of these exchanges work, right? They work in the way of someone who's maybe used to trading stocks or bonds would be used to, the buy orders, the sell orders, the margin this, the whatever that. And it's I remember when I first looked at one of these exchanges, I was like, wow, that's a lot of new words that I don't know. But something like Shapeshift, none of that. You just tell it, I want to sell Bitcoin into Dash. And it says, what's your Dash address? And you tell it, and then they tell you where to send the Bitcoin. And it's all pretty quick.
Yep, all done based on the exchange rate that day, whatever the price is for each one, right? Actually, not just that day, but that moment.
Yeah.
Just at that instant in time, it says, oh, it's worth this much, and boom, it's done. And I think it's really nice. Well, we're not going to let you get away before finding out how people can get in touch with you, and they can consume some of that great content you're producing, as well as how they can get into Dash. So first of all, how can someone get in touch with you and follow you and stay up with the content that you're producing?
Sure. So I publish a YouTube series called Dash Detailed, and we publish a news update every Wednesday. So that would be code developments, price movements, headlines, new businesses accepting Dash, all of those sorts of things. I publish every Wednesday at 12 noon Eastern time. And then every Friday, I publish what I call a Dash Detailed Spotlight. And that's an interview show with various members of the people who make Dash work behind the scenes, whether it be a developer, a well-known investor, a user interface designer, or just like a new business who is accepting Dash, like their founder or CEO, that sort of thing. And that's on Fridays at 12 noon Eastern time. And then
you can find both of those over on YouTube.
Yeah, just type in Dash Detailed. I don't think there's any competition for those search terms at this time. Yeah, and then I'm on Twitter at Dash Detailed if you'd care to reach out personally or something.
Okay, very good. Excellent. Well then, and one final thing, someone says, okay, I want to get into it. I want to get on Dash and start getting some. What do they need to do? They're watching this. They got their smartphone standing by and they want to jump over and get involved with it. What do they do?
Yeah, so if you're thinking that if you don't already have Bitcoin, as we had talked about earlier, which, is pretty easy to switch to Dash, if you're thinking of buying with your dollars or pesos or, wherever you live, I've made a sort of list of various ways of buying based on how you want to buy, whether you're willing to meet someone in person or whether you are willing to go make a sort of cash deposit at a bank account of a person who is, selling. And you can find that list at dashdetailed.com/how-to-dash.
How to Dash sounds good. So just as one word, no spaces?
No spaces.
Right, how to Dash, upper or lowercase, doesn't matter?
No, it doesn't. And at the top of that list, it may be considered the go-to at this time is a site called wallofcoins.com. And it basically I think it's available in something like 11 countries around the world. And you just basically tell it where you happen to be at the present in terms of your zip code. And then it searches out any and all bank branches within a few miles of you, where where a person who has an account at that particular bank is selling Dash on the site of wallofcoins.com. So, a Wells Fargo 2 miles from you, there's a user there selling Dash at such and such a rate. You click on that, you say, I want to buy, $100 of Dash from this guy or more. He immediately puts his Dash into escrow on wallofcoins.com. And for the next, you have like 3 hours to go deposit the $100 into his bank account. You don't need to know his name. He doesn't need to know your name. You just fill out a deposit slip with his account number on it. And then you take a picture of the receipt that the teller gives you, and then the escrow is released to you.
I like it. Very nice. Well, those of you that are watching this is a tool you want to have in your hip pocket and use it regularly. Dash is growing in popularity and doing very well. If you watch the exchanges and how it's been doing, like any other digital currency, they go up and down. They all are rather volatile. But for a long-term investment in your knowledge, this is something you want to look into. Dash.org is a place you want to go. And I would recommend also go back over this video and watch it again. Amanda's given us some really good ideas, and you'll want to access that yourself. Amanda, before we let you go, any final words you want to say?
No, just thanks for having me.
Well, it's great to have you here. We appreciate you taking your time on that. And again, for those of you that are watching this, I encourage you to look into Dash, look into what's available, find it as a resource, a way for you as entrepreneurs to increase your marketing, to increase the people you can connect with, the way that people can deal with you around the world. This is a way to do it. And I'll look forward to hearing from you also if you have any other comments or suggestions you want to make. I'm Terry Brock with terrybrock.com, and thank you very much for being with us today.